because it's morning here. We have Renae Hirsch with us from Farmers Leap Wines in Australia, who has very kindly given up some of her evening for us because such is the time difference. Renae, first of all, please, would you introduce yourself? Tell us where you are in Australia, because obviously it's not a small country, and what's your relationship with Farmers Leap?
Okay, so my name's Renae Hirsch. I'm a winemaker and I'm based in Adelaide in South Australia. My relationship with Farmers Leap is that I've been making their wines for about 10 years now. So I'm pretty all over all their vineyards and the winemaking. So, yeah.
But I gather you also make wine for other people. You're not exclusive.
Yes, I do.
Farmers Leap.
I do. I work as a winemaking consultant. So I've got a number of clients. I think it's up to about 12 now. Wow. Farmers Leap is actually one of my bigger clients though. So a lot of them are very small. And all of them are in South Australia in different regions. A lot of them are in McLaren Vale wine region. Obviously, Farmers Leap is in Padthaway, which is about 3 hours drive away from McLaren Vale. So there's a little bit of travel between the regions. But we actually make all the wines for Farmers Leap in McLaren Vale. So we ship the fruit to the region of McLaren Vale and make it there. Yeah, so basically what I do as a consultant is I make wine for people who own their own vineyards usually. And so they're growers, they know a lot about their fruit, but they don't have a winery. So we use contract facilities to make their wines.
Aha. So tell me, what inspired you to become a winemaker? Because I'm not sure this is something that you get out of bed one morning and go, today I'm going to be an astronaut, tomorrow I'm a winemaker. Was being female an issue? I really hope it wasn't, but I am a realist in this world.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess the way I got into the wine industry is I grew up in the Adelaide Hills, so there was vines and wine all around. Not that my family had anything to do with wine, but I guess it's just because it was around, it was an option. I was interested in science, but I didn't want to end up in a career that was working in a lab. And when I was younger, I just couldn't see a path to a fun career in the sciences. So I decided to go into wine, and I was quite young. I mean, I was sort of 18, 19 when I started studying winemaking or enology, and so I didn't really know much about wine, to be honest, and I've just developed a love for it over the years and learned a lot more about it as I've gone along. Being a female, I guess when I went into it, I was quite naive. I didn't really think about how it is or was and still is to some degree a male dominated industry, but and even when I was at university, I didn't even realize because when I went through, there were so many and it was probably almost 50-50 women to men going through university. But once we got out into the world, then you sort of start to realize that it is, well, and more so was a male dominated industry back then. And even, I mean, 10 years before I came out of university, there was, there would have been way less women in wine in Australia back then. So in some ways, I feel grateful to the women who've come before, and I think it's got easier as time's gone on. And I think that women who start in the wine industry 10 years after me, after I started, will have it a lot easier than what I did.
And that question might be irrelevant by then.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, but in saying that, I had a lot of good opportunities when I was younger, and some really good mentors, both men and women, that helped me along the way. So, there's challenges, especially when you're young and impressionable. And
it's actually the biggest challenge actually then is the fact that one is young and your knowledge is still growing. You've got a long way to go, no matter whether you're male or female.
Exactly. So your lack of experience plays into that as well. And I mean, sometimes you don't know whether you're, being condescended to because you're a female or because you've got no experience, and is a bit of both probably.
And they're both quite valid, exactly. Potentially
exactly.
The excuse. So have you made wine in other countries, or have you only made wine in Australia?
I have. I worked in California soon after I left uni, so I wouldn't say I really made wine there, but I did a vintage. And then I've worked in France and Germany and Spain as well for vintages. So.
Really different experiences.
Absolutely, yeah, all quite different to each other, to be honest. Yeah.
So lots of different great varieties, which of course plays into what you're doing at Farmer's Leap, which is, and with your other wineries, you've got lots of different varietals.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Fun.
I like a bit of variety. So yeah.
And are you still tempted, possibly when you're doing the harvest, which I know you're about to go into harvest, which again is why we're so grateful you're with us. I know you're about to hit your busiest time of year. Are you tempted to run away to Europe and do a harvest at the other side of the calendar?
I don't know. It's a lot easier when you're younger and you don't have as many responsibilities, I guess.
That is very true,
before you're running your own business and stuff. I would love to, but yeah, it's less of a reality than it used to be, I think. I would still like to do a vintage in Italy at some point, but whether I get there or not, yeah.
Whereabouts in Italy would be your ideal place?
I'd probably, just because I haven't worked in Italy before, but I mean the obvious, probably Piedmont would be my go-to. Yeah. For the ones I like to
Tuscany. Tuscany is the other obvious.
Tuscany, that's the other obvious. Yeah. Yes, that's true.
Amazing. Well, let us know if you do that, because we'd always be interested in that. I used to,
yeah, for sure.
So I have a big love for the country. Tell me, when you're working with different customers, so you've got all your different clients that you're working for, are you always doing what they want, trying to put into wine their vision, or is a lot of it you're being asked to create their vision? So does your winemaking differ between different estates, or is it very much that this is the Renae style, subject obviously to the fruit and the soils, or is it more they're saying this is what I want and somebody else saying but I want something completely different?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a bit of both, to be honest. Some customers or clients are happy for me to just do whatever, and others. So, I mean, I guess some of them I've taken on, and they're all already established brands. So you've got to be, they want to continue going in a certain direction. Others are new, and then they're much more open to doing, whatever I suggest that would be best for the fruit off of their vineyard. And then others are very, very, some are really involved in all aspects of style, and others are much more hands-off. So it's really different depending on the different clients. But I mean, I do make a lot of different brands out of one region, which is McLaren Vale, not where Farmer's Leap is. And I do try to make them a little bit different. They are from the same region, and although they do all have different vineyard sites, and they all manage their own vineyards. So there's differences there anyway that you see in the fruit. And I mean, I guess my philosophy is to try to really show or be able to see in the wine what I tasted in the vineyard as well. So, there's the climate and the soil plays into that. Just with we're just playing a supporting role, I guess.
I'm curious because obviously the climate and the soil are going to dictate a lot, but
absolutely,
the hand of man can have quite a big impact. Or woman.
Oh, for sure. I mean, there are winemakers, I'm sure you're aware, that will make wines that it's the winemaker's style. Absolutely. And it doesn't matter what region it comes from. I try not to do that. I try to show, I try not to do that. I probably do it to a degree. But yeah, the aim is really to let the fruit show. So yeah. And also play into the styles that the client wants. So yeah.
Fair enough. Vineyards and sustainability, which obviously leads us on to climate change as well. But what do you feel you have in place? Because I know that not necessarily everyone can be organic or even wants to be organic. Some people will go beyond organic without the certification. What's your feeling about vineyards and that sort of thing, about sustainability?
So Farmer's Leap has certified sustainable vineyards through Sustainable Wine Growing Australia, and I do, and as do most of my clients, to be honest, and that's something that I think is the way of the future. I mean, we all have to, start thinking about how we can do things smarter and better to, help the environment and also cut back on chemicals. Organics, I do have a couple of clients that are certified organic, but most, I would say, Farmers Leap included, are not certified organic, but try to use the minimal amount of chemicals that they can. My thought is the least we can do in terms of using chemicals out there in the vineyard, the better, as long as we can get the fruit to the quality that we need it to be. And, in the regions that we work in here, in most years, it's pretty easy to get there without using too many sprays.
How about water?
Yeah, so water is something that we need to use in South Australia. It's pretty hard to dry grow in most of our regions. So, I mean, we're looking at, everybody's looking at smarter ways to irrigate. The Israelis are helping in certain ways with some of their technology. We'd like to use less water when and if we can, in certain years, in certain, drought conditions. It's harder and harder, but we're trying to use water smarter. By using technology as well, measuring the radiuses of the vine trunks is one way. Farmers Leap isn't doing this as yet, but there's a few trials going on with some of my other clients that are trialing using this technology to see when the vine is lacking in water, and that really cuts down the usage of water because you can irrigate only when it's needed versus looking, traditionally we'd look at soil moisture, and when the soil at certain levels would dry out, that's when we would water. But this seems to be a better way, I think, of doing it. So, I mean, there'll be more and more technologies that come to the fore.
Very exciting. Very exciting.
Yeah, it is very exciting.
As you say, rather than just blanket irrigation, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, we've come a long way as well. I mean, once upon a time, it was all flood irrigation as well. So,
exactly.
We're heading in the right direction.
So heavy-handed, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How about biodynamics? Do you have an opinion on biodynamics, and what's your thought on the tasting on a fruit day or on a flower day, and does it matter, do you think?
Yeah, I honestly do believe it does make a difference. I think that this is just anecdotal, from my, when I'm having a bad tasting day and everything tastes terrible, often when you look at the biodynamic calendar, it's a earth day or a root day. And then you come back to it a few days later and go, oh, okay, it's all good. We're not in trouble.
What I normally say, it's just me, rather than it being the fruit or the flower. I just say I'm just having a bad tasting day. So you're probably right. And I'm 50-50 on it, because sometimes you have an amazing tasting, everything tastes really good, and you go, oh, it's a root day. How did that work? You wonder, God,
I don't know.
Really,
it's what's in your head sometimes as well, I think. Yeah.
We're sort of slightly getting short on time. I'm not short on time, but I know that everyone's going to want to go off and do something different. Very quickly, quick questions here. Screw cap, cork. What's it to be?
It's screw cap for me.
Screw cap.
I'm Australian. It's screw cap. Sorry.
Perfect. That's a very good answer. And money no object. If you could buy any piece of equipment, how big or small, doesn't matter, for either the vineyard or your cellar, what would it be?
Being super selfish here and not very environmentally friendly, I would say I'd get a helicopter. It'd make my life a lot easier to get between vineyards and things.
Like a brilliant answer. It does sound like exactly what you need.
But for winemaking point of view, probably a high-end sorting table.
With it, though. You need the pilot with
absolutely.
So obviously, they come in. It's like those little play models. If you could make wine anywhere in the world, where would that be? That sounds like it might be Piedmont at the moment, but if you could choose.
Yeah. I mean, I'm to be honest, I'm quite happy here where I am, but I mean, yeah, that's somewhere I would like to do a vintage for sure. Yeah, at some point. Yeah.
If you could only have one wine for the rest of your life, gosh, that'd be quite dull, wouldn't it? Which wine would it be from the Farmer's Leap Library?
For me, it's Chardonnay. Yeah,
Really?
sure.
I thought you were going to say the Brave, actually, because I love the Brave as well. The Chardonnay is
the Brave. I mean, the Brave is lovely. I just it's summer here as well, so at the moment I'm feeling more in like a white, and I just think also Padthaway, the wine region, is really good for Chardonnay. That limestone in the soil brings out some really lovely characters, I think. So yeah, but the Brave also.
Yeah. It is beautifully pure, for which all thanks to you, of course. And finally, the final last killer question, which I hate being asked because I'm so disloyal to my wine regions. If you could drink wine from only one country for the rest of your life, which country would it be? And you don't have to say Australia, but you can say Australia.
Oh, look, I think it's going to be France for champagne, to be honest.
Oh, yes. Okay,
yeah.
I might join you on that one, actually. Renae, that's really, really kind. Thank you so much for giving us some time in your evening. And I know it's a busy time. Good luck with the harvest, because I know you're starting in about a week's time. Is that right?
Yeah, it'll be it's a bit late this year. So we've probably got 2 weeks up our sleeves, so which is good. Yeah.
So deep breath for a couple of weeks, and good luck with the harvest. And thank you so much for joining us on this Women in Wine interview.
No problem. Thank you.